Wait. Before we start, just want to make sure we're clear here. While this podcast talks about sobriety, mental health, and addiction, it is not meant to replace professional medical advice. Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety.
I'm Kathleen,
And I'm Sonia.
and we're ex-sisters-in-law, brought together in marriage and bonded through our sobriety journey.
Join us as we talk sobriety, addiction, and everything in between. You're in for quite a ride. And our Substack is buzzing with amazing content, from creative mocktail recipes to insightful courses and reflective exercises. There is something for everyone. Don't miss out. It's a great way to add some extra joy and depth to your journey. Check it out. Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety. Today, we're joined by Karen Bigman, Sexual Health Alliance certified sex educator, a life and menopause coach, and host of Taboo to Truth, Life and Sex After 50. Karen's work isn't just about sex, it's about wellness, reinvention, and coming home to yourself in the second half of life. She guides women through menopause, divorce, changing bodies, and shifting desires, and helps them reclaim confidence, connection, and purpose. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. So what was your journey to get to launching Taboo to Truth?
So it's kind of two-pronged, and ultimately I think it was probably like one long journey that ended up in one place. I was specifically with the podcast, was kind of in a transition. I'd done some life and divorce coaching for a few years. I'd done some technical work because I have a background in technology. And I was at a crossroads. I moved out to live part-time in California after a breakup. And I was pushing 60. And so I was really like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know where I want to be. And two particular events happened that sort of sparked my brain. One was that I was in a book club meeting. I'm in an area in Orange County, California, which is pretty conservative. And at the book club meeting, which was mostly men and women in baby boomer generation, there was a very steamy sex scene in the book. And the woman that recommended the book was really mortified that she had recommended a book that had this steamy sex scene, which, by the way, was between a married couple, like if you really want to get. And I was like rolling my eyes. I'm also a New Yorker. I spent most of my life in New York. I'm like, seriously, like this is embarrassing. And then separately, I reconnected with an old flame from where I grew up. And he was a little older than me, about 4 years older than me. And he said, I thought women your age didn't want sex anymore. And I was like, fuck no. So these like two things were floating in my head. And I was always the person that could talk about anything with anybody. Like I was always very open about sex, talking to my friends about it. And so for whatever reason, this all came together. And I said, let me just do a podcast. Let me just try a podcast. I knew how to do one because I'd done one in my previous business. And so I just picked up the recorder on my phone and I recorded a couple of episodes with my story. As I was doing that, it kind of came full circle in that what my sort of sexual awakening, if you will, started really when I was post-divorce. And it was an interesting, I mean, I got divorced. Definitely the last few years of our marriage, we had very little sex. During the marriage, I was often rejected when I wanted sex. So that was like very, very difficult. And I started dating an old flame, met him on Facebook, reconnected on Facebook and we were like literally having sex like on the street in Manhattan in the backseat of the car. Like we were just bunnies. And I started having trouble orgasming. And I'm like, fucking universe. Like, seriously? I finally get to have all the sex I want whenever I want, and I can't have an orgasm. And so eventually my doctor's like, it's in your head. And then she finally referred me to a sexual medicine practice. And that is where the true journey started to here, in that the first appointment was with a nurse practitioner from the medical side and a sex therapist who's kind of like a little Dr. Ruth. And the sex therapist really asks you, like, have you ever had an orgasm? Do you need clitoral stimulation? Like all the things that I now know like are so obvious. I had no idea. And so the conversation, like every time I go back, I'd be telling her about my dates and guys I was with, and we just became very friendly. I learned that I was also, so when you go through menopause, not only do you have a reduction of estrogen and progesterone, and I was on hormone replacement therapy, but you also lose testosterone, which contributes to libido and orgasm. And that was one of the things that I was deficient in. But the pièce de résistance, if you will, the highlight of that particular first appointment was they asked me if I'd ever used a vibrator. And I was like, like pink as my hair, even though my hair wasn't pink back then. And they took out this like little bullet vibrator with this little blue vibrator. I can still remember it. And they said, well, why don't you go in the other room next door and try this? And literally go in exam room number 2. It was a fertility clinic too. So they had like stuff for guys, but I was like, all right, doctor's orders. And it didn't take 5 minutes. And I came back. I'm like, oh my God, you just changed my life. And that like from there, that it's sort of the story in my head was circling for, I guess, almost like 8 years. And so that's sort of the like, oh, but I guess I really did start this journey much earlier than I thought. Sorry, long story.
No, you hit like
That's it.
4 of my next questions. So what was the turning point when you started to see this work and this topic as personal growth and not just sex? Like that there was something else like wrapped up in it?
When I started the podcast in September of 2023, and I certified as a menopause coach, which is a pretty simple certification for this particular program. It was more like a certification for trainers, and I just wanted the education. And through my research for the podcast, I came across the Sexual Health Alliance, and they certify a lot of sex therapists. Like if you have your LMFT or you're already a PsyD or something, you can go there and get your specialty. But they also had a sex educator program. And I decided to do that. And that is, I think, really because between what I learned and letting go of judgments about what is gender, what is sex, what is a relationship, and the community, which I get like emotional when I think about it because it is such a welcoming community. I mean, I'm probably the most like straight vanilla person in the community, but everyone I meet there, they're very inclusive, and I'm learning about so many interesting things and so many different people, and just the how people operate in the world that is such a different world than I ever knew about. Like I think that was the beginning, and it got to a point where a couple of months ago, a friend of mine he's kinky that I met here weirdly, like if you met him on the street, you'd never know he was kinky, invited me to a photo shoot at a friend's house who was trying to promote some products. And he's like, we have all this lingerie, you can try it on, and it'll be good for, if you want the pictures, doesn't cost you anything. So I'm like, what the hell? Like and I literally like got there and I was like trying to put pasties on and I couldn't do it. And so this woman like comes over to me, like grabs my boobs, I'm like, all right, walking around in my underwear. I'm like, amongst strangers, like, I'm not going to go out on the street like that, but I got so comfortable because everybody there was comfortable. And that is what I want the world to be. Not kinky necessarily, but comfortable enough to just be in the world, in your body.
And so aside from, doing a kinky photo shoot, how do you help women kind of rebuild that sense of themselves and get comfortable with their bodies again?
So I target, so to speak, women and men, and I don't tend to coach one-on-one. Like I will have conversations with people, but I think it's not, how do I put this? Women have this script that I can't have sex anymore because it hurts, or I don't want sex anymore, or I lost my libido, or whatever happened, and therefore I'm done. And a lot of times that gets reinforced by the clinicians. I'll go in, I've heard doctors, predominantly men, but women too, basically say like, sorry, time's up on that. And so the first thing I say is like, lose that script, lose the script that taught you that you're not going to be sexual anymore when you're older. And the same holds true for men who, like, for example, suffer from erectile dysfunction or something, and they think like there are men who give up on sex as well. So I think it's kind of like, why does sex always have to mean the same thing that it did when our little itty bitty bit of sex education, which is, penis and vagina, he ejaculates, sex is over. Like, why not stop thinking about sex as just that? Because then you can start to open up a little to possibility. I also coach, like I'm a huge proponent of hormone replacement therapy, and the research shows for almost every woman who doesn't have like particular issues with blood clots and things like that. And there's even research now that some people with breast cancer can go on it. It makes a huge difference. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, but there's new research that some types of hormone therapy are okay. But just for the general population that doesn't have any issues, it will help you feel better about yourself, which is part of it. It will most likely also help your libido. it will help your lubrication, your body just feel generally better because our entire body has estrogen receptors. So it's not just your reproductive organs that are losing progesterone and estrogen, it's your entire body. So sometimes just taking the advice to go on the hormone therapy is enough for someone to kind of feel better in their body because they feel better about themselves. The other thing I do, I hear this a lot too, and it's just more in the general population of women. They're like, "Oh, I'm getting fat. I need to like go on a diet. I need to, this belly." Like I have, my daughter calls it, she's a social worker, disordered eating. Like I don't have an eating disorder, but I definitely am like way like most women today. And I look at women's bodies that are middle aged, and the ones that are look like Heidi Klum, like they're most likely surgically enhanced in some
Mhm.
way. Like that is not the way our bodies age, and men are having the same issue. And so it's just sort of getting real. Like this is my body, and I love it or hate it. It's the body. You can spend all your time fighting to make it look like something else, or you can sort of just say like, this is the body I got. I mean, I wear bikinis now. Like I have a belly and I'm like, I know I'm not the sexiest person on the beach, but I'm comfortable in bikinis and I am going to wear them. And like it's just kind of saying like I'm okay with what is. Otherwise you're fighting what isn't forever.
Yeah, that's funny. I just bought my first bikini because I am the same way where I'm like, oh, I can't do it in my stomach. And so I think it does help just to kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think it really does. So let's say we're talking about women in menopause, perimenopause that are maybe just getting divorced and thinking about dating, but they're not really ready. What are some non sexual forms of intimacy that can help restore that part of themselves?
Well, I certainly think, you want to be healthy. So if, you're suffering from depression because of, your divorce, or you're really struggling with being alone, whatever those things are, I definitely strongly recommend, therapy or some coaching that like really helped me because I went back to school and did my life coaching training and I was in therapy. So certainly getting your mental health in order, and there will always be bad days. I still have them, like even all these years of therapy, like you're never going to be 100% in a good
Mhm.
place, but you get better at I used to say when I was divorce coaching, like the waves that are so big right now will start to kind of even out, and then, there'll be fewer and fewer. So the mental health piece. And then you don't need to be in like a rigorous aerobics hit H, whatever the hell they call those classes, but getting out and moving, like that's the thing for me. Whenever I'm in my worst, like I got to get out of the house. Like that's part of why I live at the beach in the summer. Like I just have to go out and go for a walk, and it clears my head. So moving, eating properly, all the things and trying to reduce stress, and then getting to know your body. Like, how many women have ever looked at their vulva? Like, take a mirror and look down there, because that is going to change as you go through menopause. And if you're not properly, if you don't have proper hormones, and you're gonna lose your inner labia, like you won't even know that's happening if you're not using, like you need topical estrogen. Like, look at what's going on down there so that you understand it. That's like thing one. And then like learn your body, learn what you like physically. I mean, buy a vibrator for yourself, lock the door if you're embarrassed about it, and just nobody's going to know about you. Just learn what turns you on.
That
And
blew my mind, the inner labia. Are there other things that happen in menopause, perimenopause that we should know about that would affect us like that?
yeah, I mean a lot, but dry, vaginal dryness is the one that a lot of people know about, which like even now with all the hormones that I'm on, like I still get burning from it. You can get urinary tract infections very much more easily. I know like now whenever I have intercourse, I have to take an antibiotic because I'm prone to urinary tract infections. It affects your lubrication, your ability to orgasm, the intensity of
Mm.
your orgasms. So yeah, I mean that's topical estrogen. Even if you're not on systemic estrogen, it's there. There's a certain group of doctors that have just went to Washington to try to remove the restrictions on topical vaginal estrogen because it's so healthy for you. It's so prevents so many things, and it's just such an easy thing for a woman to use. So that is like if nothing else, as your body starts to age, you want to go on topical vaginal estrogen.
Wow.
And that will theoretically, like as I understand it, like that will prevent the inner lips from getting absorbed, and then like also like clitoral adhesions, like your clitoris can start to get covered by the hood. There's a lot of things that can happen down there, so you need to know what's going on.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that is good to know. So if we switch over to talking a little bit about the person who is ready to date, what is really different about dating in your 40s, 50s, 60s than your 20s and 30s? Other than, yeah, we're not, apps weren't around when I was 30. But yeah, what is truly different for you?
I think I'm better at knowing what I want, and it took me 10 years of dating to really understand like what the red flags are, and to let them, like when I see them flying, to walk away from them, to understand that when people show you who they are, that's to believe them and don't expect they're going to change. If people have things going on in their life, you're not going to fix them. And I mean, I can't tell you how many. I mean, I was in a 5-year relationship where there was a lot of issues with his children, but beyond that, the financial part was like the promises that were made constantly that I knew were never going to be fulfilled in my heart, but I couldn't listen to. So it's really being in tune to those like your spidey sense. And if you want to just go out and date to have sex, like do it safely. You can still get STIs even if you can't get pregnant, so be very careful. But if you're looking for a relationship, be cognizant of the fact that like there's a lot more stuff, because we're older, and it's like, what's the stuff you can tolerate? And then I also think it's important to go through, like I went on a date with a guy who I was the first relationship, and I dated one guy for 6 months. I was the first relationship. It did not end well for me. And then I've started now, like you need to have a few relationships. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, it's great to get divorced and then meet the next person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. But I think learning from all these, each relationship, I say, is your teacher, and learning from the lessons of each of those. And they're not always happy lessons. Sometimes there's a lot of tears involved, but it's like giving yourself grace to say like, okay, like this is something I haven't done before. And this whole, also for women, like this whole thing, like every guy wants a younger woman. The guys that want younger women are not going to come up in your feed on an app, because they're looking for
Yeah.
someone your age,
That's
right?
true. I never thought about it that way. Okay. What is your take on beer goggles? And so,
What's that?
because you're not sober, but we are sisters in sobriety. So,
Yep.
do you notice a difference between when you were drinking on a date and when you're not? And have you experienced the beer goggles in this period of your life dating?
It's so interesting that you say that. So I used to always want to go on a date in the evening, because I just think you have a cocktail and you're more relaxed, right?
Mhm.
And I went on a couple of daytime coffee dates, and I like those first dates better, because I think you are more clear-headed and you're also less tired and whatever. So I do like them. I drink. I did, like I went on a date a couple months ago with a guy that sucked down 3 drinks in like an hour. Like that, like red flags were flying for a lot of reasons, but that was like a big one.
So, what are some red flags we should be looking for? And if any of them also, if someone is pushing to have sex on a first date or starts sexting you before you've met, like, are those things red flags? Are they healthy?
Okay. So I alluded to one before. If he is not fully divorced, if he's separated, we're separated because of this, this, and this. I dated one guy, got back together with his wife. Another one just like wasn't ready. There was a lot of guilt because he was Catholic, and like the fact that he wasn't fully divorced. Like, make sure some guy called me the other day. He said, full disclosure, I've been married for 32 years. I've been separated for 6 months. I'm like, go get laid.
Yeah.
Go have some relationships and then call me. So fully divorced is a big one. For me, financial security is hugely important, and it's sometimes hard to tell because my last relationship fell apart because ultimately he ran out of money. I like that's a red flag. If I don't care if somebody's not a millionaire, but I care that they pay their bills and that they have a little savings so we can have some fun together. So that one would be a red flag. Again, another one, because of my own experience, if there's a child with serious mental health issues, you have to know that that child is going to be in your life all the time. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. Some people are fine with that. I think I told you, as some guy said, his daughter's in rehab. To me, that's like too much. I can't take that on right now. So like knowing that the sexting. So what I just came to the conclusion finally, sometimes there'll be really gorgeous pictures, and you'll go to the text and it will be, hi, hi, how are you? How are you? How was your day? Did you have a tough day? Hey, beautiful. Hey, sexy. Hey, gorgeous. Do you want to get to a phone call? Yes, I'd love to talk. Last one, let's exchange digits. Okay, so what time do you want to talk? The next day. Hey, how was your day? Those are fake. Those are fake accounts. So that is
Oh,
it finally dawned on me, like, this person is never going to go to a phone call because they're not a real person. They're just fucking with you. So that's one kind. And then, like, I do, depending on the app, because definitely, like, I'm on one of these apps that's a little more racy. And so when people are a little more, sexual, I take it with a grain of salt and I let them know, like, even though I'm in, like, they don't know this up front, but I'm like, I'm not that kind of person. But I find it's a little off putting. I don't. And it's a personal thing. Like, if you want to just get laid and that person's just keeps talking about how sexy and gorgeous you are, then, like, go for it. But know that that's their intention. Or tell them honestly, like, I really am interested in meeting you, but I like, do you mind if you hold off until I'm really sexy till you meet me? Like, be honest. Gosh, I can't. There's so many red flags. Behavior, rude behavior when you go out on a date, not being they me. They ask you a question and then they turn around and they don't really care about the answer because they want to talk about me, and then more me. Don't ask you about yourself at all. Oh, that one drives me crazy. That was that last date I had through the matchmaker. Yeah, those are the ones that are coming to mind right now.
and so let's say like someone like me is with somebody for 18 years and then I'm getting out there for the first time and I don't know what is normal in terms of how many dates before you have sex. How does like intimacy happen? Like what are the parameters? Are there things I need to ask? Do I need to ask if they have an STI or if they're into like different kinks? What are those things?
Yeah, I think you need to know what you are comfortable with, because if you're comfortable meeting a guy and getting into bed with him, that's your choice. So I don't think there's any rule. I was talking about this last night with someone, and it's like, I think there is no rule because every person is different and everybody, they say like women get attached. Like, I've been able to sleep with guys and not get attached at this point in my life. Like, I don't pick up guys. Like, I get to know them, but that's my thing. Like, I'm totally fine with it. Like, I own my inner slut. Like, I'm okay.
Mhm.
That being said, I will not get into bed. I will not, I would say nothing below the waist until I see your full STI panel. And oh, by the way, in the States, I don't know if this is true in Canada, when you go for an STI panel, herpes is not included as part of it because it's so common and it's not life threatening that they don't obviously automatically test for it. So if that's something that concerns you, then you want to make sure to be tested for it. That being said, the whole image of somebody that has herpes must be dirty, must have fucked around when they were younger, like that, you got to let go of too, because it's just something you have to deal with and be smart about and use protection. So it's like not a deal breaker, but you want to know, because if women tend to get it more than men, or catch it more than men.
Wow, I think doesn't more than half the population have herpes now?
Yes, it's like 70% or something. I don't know
Yeah.
what the number is, but yeah, I mean, it's like if you have it, you have it. It's just like, if you don't and you want to be careful not to contract it because it's unpleasant. It's not going to kill you. It's unpleasant. That's
Yeah.
all. And then the conversation, for me, like now, even now, sometimes it's hard, but I tend to date guys that want to talk about sex. Like, the conversation leads, because that's what I do. I talk about sex all day long. I talked about it on my podcast. I talk about it with people. I learn about it. I go to conferences where everybody's sex positive. I have a lot of friends that are kinky and into open relationships and all that stuff. So for me, it's just like a matter of fact, and I will have those conversations. It's not so easy for most people. But I think when I was a divorce coach, I used to say, if you can talk about money and you can talk about sex, then you have a really good chance at a solid relationship, because those are really hard conversations to have. But I think they're really important, because if that's part of who you are and what you want, if you're a sexual person and that's important to you in a relationship, then you need to talk about it. That's, heterosexual couples, we have a disadvantage. When any gay couple or couple who are in the kink lifestyle, or open relationships, they have guidelines. They sit down and communicate ahead of time. What's okay? What's not okay? How far can I go? Who can I go with? Where can I sleep at? Like, all these, we get into the bedroom. We're like, oh, we know we're gonna fuck final at the end of it. Like, that's
Mhm.
like where it's gonna go. So why not have the conversation and say, like, okay, like, I'm not okay with this. I'm okay with this. Like, maybe we try that. And it's very sexy and sensual to have the conversation. Like I have a guy that I date in New York, and I'm going back. I haven't been there for a few months, and like he's like, talking to me like, what are we gonna do? Like, what are we gonna try together? And I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah. So you briefly mentioned like expectations that people say women get attached when they have sex. And I'm going to admit I might be one of those people. So how do you what is a way for me to start thinking about sex that sort of uncouples the two of those things, so to speak? Like having expectations for a relationship from just sex.
If you know that that is who you are, then wait to have sex. Because and I'm not saying it's that easy for me either. I still get disappointed when it doesn't necessarily work out, but like I sometimes I'm just horny.
Yeah.
Just- like I'm like maybe I'm like a guy that way, but that's okay and I'm okay with it. But if you know you're going to get attached like that and that's important to you, then you should wait. Just wait and try other things. Like just do things with your clothes on. Do like, sexting or try send, candles or things like try to do things that are romantic and build that intimacy that way because yes, intercourse is very intimate regardless if it's a one night stand or it's something that you're in a long-term relationship with someone like someone's in your body, that is very very intimate and if you can disconnect from it and just enjoy it for the pleasure of it, then that's great for you. But if you know you can't, then don't put yourself in that situation without or put yourself in and know that there's a chance that he won't call you tomorrow morning.
That's it. Yeah. So, if we move into the idea of kink, can you give us, and I learned this the hard way, can you give us some codes on dating apps? Are there any things that are sort of like a giveaway that somebody has a kink?
I think if their profile is a little bit sexual, I mean, there's no way to know. And by the way, kinky can mean many things to many people, right? Like some people having sex with the lights on is kinky, right? So it doesn't mean kinky doesn't mean you're going to a dungeon and having full on BDSM. So, but I mean, like I'm on this app called Field where you can actually say what your kinks are on kinky, and I say vanilla, like this is my thing. But there are some guys on there that are not kinky. But when I match with somebody who is looking for a relationship and might say something that's a little kinky, I say up front, like, just so you know, this is not like this one guy said, like, how about we go out to Catalina and go ziplining? And I'm like, I'm not the ziplining kind of person, like that is not what I do. Like I'm a walking hiking gal. Like if you're looking, so I would be very honest. Like don't match with someone and go on a date with somebody that wants to take you to a full on, kinky BDSM party and you're terrified. Like don't do that to yourself because that's not who you are. Don't. I love this expression. My old therapist taught me. Don't turn yourself into a pretzel. That should be the other thing. Do not turn yourself into a pretzel for anybody.
I say that a
You be
lot.
you, and don't make excuses. Like I don't want to sleep with you until I know we're in a committed relationship. Fair enough. Or I'm like I will sleep with you, but I'm don't no pain. Like don't hit me because that's not my thing. Or if you have other women or other men or whatever, like I'm not okay with that, or I am okay with that. Like, but when you're with me, this is what we do.
So,
It's communication.
yeah, as a 46-year-old woman, I know if I want to go ziplining or not, right? Because I have that experience. And so if someone says, "Do you want to do this?" I know that I want to say no. But if somebody brings up, yeah, like something like, "Oh, I'd like to punch you in the face." Since you don't have that experience, how do you navigate the kinks idea and like how do you have those conversations? How do you even know whether or not it's something that you would be into? Because I actually am like, sometimes people say something, I'm like, I don't know.
And by the way, I think like a lot of women, particularly who are like have so much going on in their life, would love to be dominated in the bedroom. Now, does the domination mean they want to be spanked? I don't know. It may just mean the guy like just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. Like that just may be like very kinky. So how like I again I think in that I know that in that community in particular, these conversations of consent are hugely important. And if somebody does not want to have that conversation or doesn't listen to you, get away from them because they are not safe. A lot of the kink communities and kink parties, I've gone to some, they call them munches. They're like a coffee of a bunch of people who are kinky. Just to like, I met the coolest people. They were really interesting. And they talk very, like they'll be talking very in excruciating detail about what they like to do or how they like to do it. And they'll find somebody that likes to do the same thing. But even that, like, I love, someone gave me the example, like, let's say you say, okay, I'm okay with impact play. So that means like somebody hitting you. Okay, but they say like, how hard can I hit you? And you say like, hit me hard. And then they hit you and like you go through the roof and scream. And you're like, not that hard. So your hard and their hard were completely different hard. So it's like really important to, especially if you've never been in that situation, to be very gentle on yourself and make sure that you're starting with someone who's willing to sort of the 50 Shades of Grey guy, like to bring you into it very gently, because it can be very traumatic. I mean, people can be abusive and you don't want to put yourself in that situation either.
So there's a spectrum of kink, and someone can sort of like bring you into it, like the 50 Shades of Grey, without like
Right,
going full, like bruise causing punch.
right. Right. And there's, kinks, fetishes, role play. It doesn't have to be something with impact and pain and handcuffs. It can just be like, how about tonight we pretend whatever the role is and like just like have
Mm.
fun that way.
Okay. So since we're talking about women in menopause, perimenopause, what if they go out there and they have a painful or disappointing first sexual experience right out of the gate when they're getting back into it? How do they reset that? Because I have friends too that it's been extremely painful and it really has scared them away from wanting to have sex again. And so some of them have even thought, well, maybe I'll just do kind of like platonic, but maybe one day we'll have sex. But yeah, how do you reset after that?
I think the first thing you want to do is go see a doctor who's menopause certified, because what's often happening is it's the dryness I was talking about. And that is very painful when someone tries to penetrate you when you're dry. Women need to know that it takes them something like 20 to 40 minutes to be properly lubricated for penetration, and guys are jump right in no matter what you tell them. So you need to be ready. You could have, what can happen also, I forget I don't know if it's this dyspareunia. There's something, that a medical condition where it hurts the first time, and so you clench, and then every time someone gets near you, you clench even
Yeah.
more, because your brain is saying, don't go in, it's going to hurt, it's going to hurt. And there are pelvic floor physical therapists that can help with dilators to sort of gently teach you how to be able to be penetrated. And ladies, lube is your friend. Lube is just like, should be part of, I like silicone because it doesn't like get sticky, but lube. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you bring that lube and you tell the guy. And when you're just like us, when you're giving a guy a hand job with lube, like, it's so much more enjoyable for him too. So like, make sure that you use lube. But I think like you need to direct it, because if you're having pain, you do not want to have painful sex. There's no reason for painful sex, and you can still have enjoyable sex. You just have to figure out how you do it. Don't give up on sex. It's
Yeah.
good for
The
you.
lube conversation, I didn't even know anything about it until I was like 45. Nobody talks about it. And I had no idea that that was something, never used it in my marriage, and that would have been helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's more and more important as we age. The other thing, like, I can give your listeners a discount code. There's some cannabis products now. There's a company called Foria that makes an oil that has cannabis in it, and it like makes the blood flow better. And then of course hormone therapy helps. Like, there are things that make you more ready. And then, oh, by the way, like I said earlier, sex does not always have to involve penetration. Like, there are different kinds of orgasms. You can have a nipple orgasm, nipplegasm, I guess they call it. I mean, there's like a million different ways to enjoy sex. That there's, or I mean, like a guy who gives good oral sex. Oh my God, like that. If you allow yourself to enjoy it, which is part of our problem too, can be really amazing.
So, for example, like I, for maybe a decade, had like duty driven sex.
Husband sex.
Yeah. And so I swore I would never do that again. And that was, unfair. I should have been speaking up. But I find myself kind of going back into that same pattern. And I suspect that there are other women that also fall into that. How do we stop doing that? How do we, if we're not having sex like twice a week, something's wrong with the relationship? How do you prevent kind of getting into that hole of duty sex?
I think it all boils down to communication. If your partner and you are in a loving relationship, he wants you to be happy too. Now, if he says like, I'm a really sexual guy and I need to have sex every day or whatever, and then you work out something where it's like, if you want to have sex every day, you can have sex with me twice a week. And the other day is like, I can be there while you masturbate and that can be our sex. Or you can like use porn. Or in some cases, some women are okay with like opening the relationship, whatever it is. But if you don't tell him, he doesn't know. And I would imagine if he doesn't care, then he's probably not your person either. But I hear from a lot of men, like my wife, I love my wife. I don't want to cheat on her. I really want to have sex with her, but she just doesn't want it anymore. And that's heartbreaking because you can still have it. It can be really good if you change the approach to it, if you spice it up, if you try it in a different room, if you make it part of a bigger, a bigger story. I love the expression from Esther Perel, the psychotherapist. She says sex starts at the end of the last orgasm. Like build up. I mean, it's all like you're getting ready for something. You're like build some anticipation and let your partner know like this is not enjoyable for me. I love you and I want you to be happy, but this is not enjoyable for me. How can we make it enjoyable for me? And what can we do? And there's a million things. There's like this. I have one in my course. I have a course, an adult sex ed course. It's called a yes, no, maybe list. Like go through that together. There are products out there, and I haven't. Again, I can give you all these codes, whatever. I have some affiliate stuff, but where you can both fill out your fantasies or whatever you want, and like they curate a whole program for you in a box that comes every month that gives you not just toys to play with, but like different things that you can do, cards and things like that. So there's like so many tools out there to make it better, but you should not be enduring like what I call husband sex. It's not right, in my opinion.
Yeah, since I turn every episode into a therapy session for myself, I will say, so I was like having duty sex like twice a week, but was married to somebody who really wanted to have sex once or twice a day. And I thought that was a really good compromise. And then he cheated. And so I guess it wasn't that good a compromise. And so does it make you incompatible if you have differing desire, libido? Does that make you, because I would never have considered, oh, we're incompatible as a couple because are we sexually incompatible? Is there such a thing as sexually incompatible?
I think there is. I mean, you're telling me that you had that. I mean, I think there is. And the question is, how important is it to you? And how important is like, can you do workarounds that will be okay for both of you? It sounds like your ex-husband was not somebody who would do the proper workaround. Like if he came to you and said, this is what I need, I want our relationship to work, how would you feel if I found it elsewhere? Like
What I
maybe
would say to him, if he would say, look, I need to have sex more, I would say, then you can't be an asshole to me. So like I would tell him like, okay, so let's say we're doing something in the morning and you're a bit of a dick to me. I don't feel like having sex with you that evening. And he was like, that is bullshit. And
okay, well, that sounds like his problem, and it sounds like you needed some therapy, which I am assuming you
yeah,
tried and really didn't work out. But yeah, maybe he was just not your person. Like if he wanted, one of the things I try to say, I saw this expression, I want someone who's going to cherish and chase me. Like if somebody's not willing to say like, okay, how like I want you enough. I want to support you enough and that I love you enough that I want to figure a way that we can do it that both of us will be happy. And then if he's not, then he's not that. That's up to you to decide. You want to be in that kind of relationship where someone treats you like that. And it's very hard for women to leave. I understand that. Like there's a lot of obstacles to leaving a relationship. And, it took me 10 years to finally say like, okay, like I'm ready to be on the other side of this because was unhappy for so long. But I just like, even if you're going to be alone, wouldn't you rather be alone in a contented place and look for somebody who's going to treat you properly than be with someone who's going to make you feel bad all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you can speak to this. So at first when we broke up, I would say like our relationship was really good. We were, I would say the only issue is I didn't like to have sex as much as him. But as I went through therapy and started talking about it more, there was a reason I didn't want to have sex with him more. Not because we had different libidos, but there were other issues in the relationship that made me not interested. And so that
And
was interesting.
that the one thing I will say that most women need, and it's not necessarily emotional connection to be in love, emotional connection, but like guys are visual. Guys see something sexy, they get a hard on, they can have sex. Like we need all the tabs to be closed in our brain. We need the lights to be just right. We need to know like mom is not going to call in the middle and the kids are not going to come screaming and the fan is going on, it's blowing on me. I need to turn it off. Like we need the setting to be comfortable where guys don't. So that's part of it too, is like how can like, look honey, I know you want to have a lot of sex, and I'm like I'm willing to have more sex, but here's the things that I need for us to be able to have more sex.
Yeah.
And then more sex begets more sex. Like if you start having more sex, you might have wanted more sex because then you're like trying new things. I mean, a lot of couples open up or start to swing or do things differently later in life because they're like, okay, I've been with my partner for this long. I want to try something new, which by the way is not such a simple thing to do either. So don't like go bringing in that third right away and saying like, oh, it's going to make our relationship better, because it completely fuck it up too. So, but
Yeah.
it's definitely things people do.
So as we wrap up, since you are known for Taboo to Truth, what is a taboo topic that you want to explore next, like on your podcast or either in your own life? Like, is there something that's kind of got you thinking?
I definitely wonder about, I mean, I've interviewed a lot of kinky people or people, what they call it in the lifestyle. And I have a partner that I see in New York, and he wants to go to a sex party with me. And I've been very reluctant. I've been very reluctant. But I was supposed to interview on the podcast, but I'm going to do it later. But I met them, a couple that run that party. And I have another friend that runs sex parties in Europe. And I'm curious. I haven't yet, because I was going to interview this couple first. I've learned a lot about it, and I've thought really hard, obviously, because I'm exposed to all these people that do it. Like every conference I go to, everybody's like, "Oh, there's a party, blah, 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 do you want to come?" And like for me, I find it frightening, and I also don't think I can just like screw somebody or have sex with somebody blind, like that I don't know. I would go with my partner as a voyeur. Like that's what I think right
Mhm.
now. But I suspect that if I started to do that at some point, maybe I'd be more interested. And I'd also be very, very like make sure like it's a party that has all the STI testing and good boundaries and security and all that stuff, because there are some that like you can just walk in and like pick somebody up and sleep with them, and or whatever, do whatever with them. Like for me, that I'm not ready for that. But I might be ready to go to a sex party or sex club with a partner that I trusted.
Okay. I'm excited to hear that episode. Karen, thank you so much. I can't even tell you how much I learned today. My mind is spinning.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was really fun.
And thank you for listening to Sisters in Sobriety. We'll see you next week. This was Sisters in Sobriety.
Thank you for listening and being with us today.
If you want to learn more about sobriety and meet your community, find us at sistersinsobriety.substack.com.
Are you a sister in sobriety? Then reach out on social media. We'd love to hear from you.
If you're feeling generous, leave us 5 stars and a review and follow us wherever you listen.
You'll never miss an episode. Until next time.